they complete the quiz, your conversion rate is astronomically higher than if they were to just come to the page.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tom here. Welcome back to another episode of Trenches. We are on episode number 4. What's going on, Ryan? What's happening in your side of the world?
I'm good, man. I've getting ready to go on a trip to Japan over here. I don't know. It's been a pretty good summer so far. Kids won. My one kid won the provincials for lacrosse, which for people in the U.S. is like state championship type thing. Riding the high through vicariously through my children and getting ready to enjoy the summer myself. How about
Nice.
you?
Are you a coach on the team at all, or?
I'm like a third tier coach. I operate a gate if we're missing. Like we've got there's players that are like in the NLL helping. Like NLL is like the National Lacrosse League, which is like professionals that are like literally on our bench coaching these kids. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like what they get access to. So if they're away and all the other people that help are away, then sometimes I'll go help on a run a gate. But I do coach like U9, which is like 7 and 8-year-olds lacrosse. But
Got
yeah,
it.
I'm not the higher level stuff.
You got anything interesting both for Japan, or?
Yeah, dude, it's like for anybody, it's like I never would have considered Japan, but my older kid, he's been pumping it quite a bit. And like I think it's actually cheaper to go to Japan and go to Disneyland than it is to go to California. Like I went to
Oh,
I went to
interesting.
California Disneyland in March, and for a family of 5, it's like 1,000 US a day. Disneyland in Tokyo for a family of 5 is 335 Canadian a
Wow.
day,
Wow.
which is like 250 US. So it's like a quarter of the price. It's more expensive to get there, but the hotels are dirt cheap. Everything just seems dirt cheap. I've never been, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But
And how many days are you supposed to be in Disneyland? Like, is this a 1-day thing, or is it like a 1-week thing, or how many
we're just
days?
doing 2 days. I already spent 4 days at Disneyland in California this year. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to do too much Disney. Have you ever been to Japan?
I have. I've been to Japan a couple times, and it's a really interesting culture. So Japan is one of the only countries, or one of the few countries, that have actually never been colonized.
What does that mean?
Well, like you look at Portugal, it was colonized by like Spain, I think. You look at Hong Kong, it's been colonized by Britain, for example. Like,
Right.
the British power, like they were very, very vast and powerful at one point, and they really planted their seeds across the world, right? The
Yeah,
Western
yeah.
and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of countries that you go to where you get a lot of Western influence,
Gotcha. Yeah.
whereas Japan, their entire culture is like pure Japanese. There's no other sort of like cross pollination from any other countries before. So their entire culture is so interesting. Like they talk about the ninjas, they talk about the shoguns, they talk about, they have so many interesting and quirky like traditions in Japan.
Yeah.
And the culture itself is just so cool. Like one of my favorite things about Japan is people really take pride in anything that they do. So it doesn't matter if you're a taxi driver, it doesn't matter if you are a toilet cleaner, it doesn't matter if you're a server. Like people put so much attention to detail to the craft. So, and people, I don't think like they like to bounce around in different jobs. So you'll find a taxi driver who's been driving taxi for 50 years. You'll find a chef who's been making the same roll of sushi for 50 years. So they're really, really like perfecting the craft. And that perfection really shows in the entire society. Like the back of the taxi, it almost feels like the taxi driver will be wearing a suit. They'll be wearing white gloves, and there's a cloth that sits on top of the seat cover, and it's like as if he just ironed it before you walk in.
Really?
Dude, it's hard to describe. It's perfection. It's closest thing to perfection in everywhere you look, in my opinion.
I love that though. Like I feel like our society out west here has like everything's kind of like throwaway, right? Like, oh, I'll do this for a little bit and then
Yeah,
I'll do something else.
yeah.
And I mean, obviously, we didn't really grow up in a world where people worked 45 years and then retire. But like, I don't know, there's something to be said about like following through with something that you start.
Dude, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It truly is amazing. You will walk into a little restaurant, and the chef started at this restaurant when he was 18 and now he's 90. And he's just there torching this little chicken yakitori for the last 70 years.
That's super cool.
And the food in Japan is, Vancouver, we're quite lucky because we have really good sushi here, fresh fish and everything. And, the first time before I went to Japan, I was like, oh, how much better can the sushi really be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
Th
another level.
It's another level? Oh,
There's
I'm
another
stoked.
level.
I wanna
Yeah.
eat some, like, Japanese curry and stuff too, like, I'm excited for the food.
Dude, the food is unbelievable. It's out of all the places I've been to in the entire world, Japanese food is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other cool, interesting thing that I did this weekend, and it's kind of business related, but a buddy of mine, he's into like buying and selling cards, like sports cards, Pokemon cards, or whatever. And it's crazy. Like I learned a lot about the business in the last few months, but I sent away one popular thing to do in like sports cards, or is like you send them to like this company's called PSA. And it's an interesting topic just because it shows you there's so many different ways to make money. But I sent away like a bunch of old sports cards and it costs like $180 to get these cards like authenticated. They're all PSA ones. They're like shitty old cards from like the 50s. But this company charges you like $40 to have it like people review a card and encase it in like this plastic so that you can't crack it open or whatever. Or I guess you could, but to preserve like the rating so you can sell them for an authenticated grade or whatever. And they've gotten so big that they had a 40 million card backlog and they had to actually stop accepting new cards. Like if the average card and like they pick up it's more expensive to get like a more expensive card graded. Like a Michael Jordan rookie card could cost you like 10 grand to get graded.
Ooh,
But
wow.
even if every card was just $50, that's $200 million in backlog in cards that this company is reviewing. Like literally, they're putting these cards in like this. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like this like plastic case, giving them a score, and they're just fucking printing money.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Like, it kind of reminds me of the business of like Trustpilot or Consumer Reports. Like, you have a third party that is validating and authenticating a thing, and then it build up so much credibility that other people will be like, oh, just because they said this is PSA 1, PSA 5, whatever, it must be legit.
Yeah.
So that in itself is interesting. Like Consumer Reports is probably one of the first companies that have ever done it, right? They will just review a bunch of things. They'll be like, oh, this is number one. And then people will be like, oh, that must be the best.
Yeah, it's like the gold rush. You had your shovels and you had your people selling the tools to do the gold rush, and then you had the people doing the gold rush. Was there like another person that was evaluating whether or not the gold that they got was actually real? Like, so you had like the jeweler or whoever like scores the gold. But it's interesting all of the different places that you can play in any given market, right? Like
Yeah.
you can be the guy producing the tools, you can be the person using the tools, or you can be the person validating the person who's using the tools work, right?
Yeah. The validator seems like a pretty easy job.
Yeah, I know
All the
lawyer.
hard work is done. Let me just grade this real quick.
Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to bring that up because I got these back and I thought they were super cool. I'm still waiting on a bunch more, but interesting way to think about where you can squeeze into different business models.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Same as, I guess, yeah, Trustpilot. Like, I mean, that kind of popped up. Everybody uses Trustpilot nowadays. It's like, I mean,
They're
what do
like
they do?
almost like I don't want to knock them, but I've heard like stories of where they're almost like extorting people.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
I've 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 had that experience with my last business
Yeah,
with Trustpilot.
I've never worked with them personally, but I've heard some people say some not so great things.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, my side of the world got into a little fender bender last night. So that
What
was
happened?
my, yeah, first little car accident ever. Actually, second one. But yeah, someone just like hit me from behind. It's a really bad, like, it's, I hate that exit. It's like, for anybody who lives in Vancouver, it's like Capilano Road and you're merging onto Highway 1. First of all, like any single time that you go onto the highway, it's usually a merge, but that one's not a merge, is a yield.
Right.
It's like,
Is
how
that
do
like
you
near the
yield?
bridge there? Is that like near the bridge?
It's hard to explain. Not really, but kinda. Actually, there is a bridge, but it has a yield sign onto the highway, which is very rare. Like mostly it's merge, right? You never
Yeah.
yield into the highway. And then yeah, I was just basically crawling along, and this one guy, he was on the far left lane, and he was gonna. I was like, oh, I can go, and then he decided to actually like switch lanes into the right lane, right into my, like you're not supposed to do that, right? So I stopped, but I guess the guy behind me, he wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention to me. He thought I was gonna go, and he just like boom, went straight into me. But yeah, thank God for Tesla. My, yeah, captured everything on the dash cam, which was obviously helpful. So just sorting out ICBC claims and stuff like that right now, which is fun. And yeah, it's my birthday today too. So
Oh,
that's
happy birthday, man. We should,
thank you.
do, like, happy birthday song.
Birthday episode. Yeah. Cue the happy birthday. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do
Happy
that.
birthday.
But yeah, 35 years old. Any advice for me, Ryan, for someone in their 40s, for someone who's 35?
I'm only 25. What are you talking about? 35. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't have like any particular advice. I don't think like time it goes fast, man, especially with the kids. Like somebody told me when I went to Harrison Hot Springs when my first two kids were really young and they're like, the days are long, but the years are short. And like now my kids are like 12 and almost 11 and 7. And I'm like, holy shit, like they weren't wrong, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, I don't know, just enjoy I'm trying to enjoy the time with them while they're still young and they still like me.
Yeah.
But like, I'll watch like a clip on Facebook about like kids growing up and I'll get all like after yelling at my kids in their sleep, I'll be mad at them for something. I'll yell at them for something and then I'll feel bad watching like some clip on Facebook. I'm like, I need to be nicer, but they're little kids, you know, like I don't know. I just think it's just like, yeah, try to be in the moment as much as you can. I know people
Yeah.
like us are always dreaming and in the stars, you know, try to
Yeah.
be around a bit
Yeah.
mentally a bit more.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. That's a
That's all I got.
good tip.
That's all I got.
Okay, guys. So if you're still with us after all that rambling, well, now we're going to get into the meat of this podcast. We are going to share with you guys how Ryan was able to launch a brand new brand. We're going to keep the brand name stealth for now, just because it is still in the very, very early days. I'm also launching a new brand right now, which I'm planning to keep it stealth just for a little bit down the road. Definitely open to sharing the brand name and everything like that. But at the very beginning, a little bit sensitive. So just want to keep the name offline for now. So some questions I have for Ryan is basically I want to get the exact playbook that he uses to launch a brand in 2026. Like did he use influencers? Did he go on TikTok shop? Did he just run meta if it's meta, like so on and so forth. So it will be kind of like a step-by-step case study of this brand and how he was able to I think now you have achieved break-even ROAS in the first order, right?
Yeah, this month we're not spending a ridiculous amount of money. Like
Yeah.
it's under $10,000 spent, but we're like per month, we're definitely positive, which is like a
That's
key.
great.
Yeah.
Positive on first order purchase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. So, are you okay with sharing which category? Just like the broad
It's a
category?
supplement. It's a supplement category. I've done a lot of work with supplements over the last couple of years, and like for me, it's one of the lowest hang. I mean, it's very dense with competition, but like the startup costs and like actually going from product to like to actually running ads and seeing the fruits of your labor are much quicker than say like, you know, building something and having to go back and forth with your manufacturer until they finally get it right.
Mhm. So, how many units do you guys order on your first batch of inventory?
I'm working with a couple other guys on this business, but they're actually producing it themselves. But we had to order the packaging and stuff like that. So we did 500 on our first order, and we're doing 500 on our second order as well.
How are they producing themselves? Like in their kitchen, or
No, like we have a facility. Like
oh,
these guys,
they have a
the guys,
facility.
yeah, the guys that I'm working with, they own a few other brands as well.
Oh, cool.
So they've got like it's a good partnership because they've got a lot of the experience producing product and whatnot, and I have the experience bringing things to market. So it's
Nice, nice, and that's cool. So they're in charge of like sourcing all the raw ingredients, putting everything together.
yeah, yeah, they do everything. Like they ship it, they package it, they end to end, and it's great.
Nice, nice. Okay, yeah. So talk to us about your playbook in 2026. If someone were to launch a brand new brand in 2026, what would you recommend? How many pieces of ads? What kind of ads? How many different landing pages? Yeah, let's just jam on this.
Yeah. So I mean, first to give some contrast, like when we launched True Earth, God, 7 years ago or seven and a bit years ago, and you know some of the stuff I'd even done before. I had just really leaned into like intuition. There was no AI, there was no tool, there was no like you know everything you had to do was really manual research, and I would come up with a concept and I would create some ads. I would just see if it worked. That was like how I used to do it. Now my core ideas is more like you're not testing a product, you're testing which pain said in which way to which person is
Mm,
going to produce you money. So
mm.
it's less about like, I mean, obviously this varies by category, but for supplements or consumables, that this is kind of like my core thesis is
Yeah.
like, how do we say the right thing to the right person to get the right output?
So let's
Um,
break that down a bit. First, you
yeah.
said the pain. Do you always have to associate your product to pain? Does your product always have to be a solution to a pain that they're experiencing right now? Talk to us about the human psychology of this.
Right. So like, I mean, there's different categories again, right? Like
Well, let's just
somebody
talk about
that
supplements. Let's just
okay,
talk
with
about like this
supplements, like
specific case.
generally speaking, people are more likely to pay to move away from pain than they are to move towards pleasure. So I used to work with this guy named Travis Sago, I paid him to be part of his like mastermind and I paid for some of his courses and stuff like that. And he always had this analogy of like people are initially on like Hell Island and they want to get to Heaven Island.
Mm,
And like there's sharks in the water and those are their objections. Why don't you just swim to Heaven Island? Oh, there's a shark there and it's going to do this, or like I've tried this other thing before and it didn't work. Like I tried to swim across once and the shark bit me. Well, it's like, well, did you try a rowboat yet? Well, the rowboat protects you from the sharks. So the idea, generally speaking, I think it's easier to move. The easiest way to get somebody to purchase something is based on how like not necessarily how much pain they're in, but like I think we've talked about this on a previous episode, but the frequency of their pain. Like if you're sitting here at a desk and your back is aching all day, you're thinking about that back pain all the time. And you've probably tried a few things to solve it. You're probably willing to do just about anything if you're constantly reminded of this pain to that you do just about anything to get to Heaven Island where you can exist at your desk without like, you know, having this pulsing feeling in your back. And I've personally been there. I was in Mexico and I bulged a disc. It's like literally changing my shorts. Like before we got on the plane, I was in the this is actually kind of funny, but I was in the lobby bathroom and we're gonna stay at the hotel for a little bit longer because our flight's not for a couple hours. And I was wearing like joggers, so I wanted to put shorts back on. I'm like, I'm not gonna go in the stall. I stripped down naked, and as soon as I go to put my foot in the shorts, I feel like somebody like tasered me, and I dropped to the floor. Like I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Did I just have a heart attack? Like why? Like I just like I dropped, and then this huge black dude came walking in 2 seconds later, and he's like, "Are you okay, man?" And I like pulled myself up to onto the table, and I managed to limp out, and I like was spent the rest of the 3 hours stretching. But I had like 3 months where I was just like in excruciating nerve pain, which
mm,
if you've had nerve pain before, it is like it's like different. This is all you're aware of. And I bought a Thera. Actually, no, I already had the Theragun. I wound up buying this Thera ball that was like a vibrating ball that you could like put on like your muscles. I bought so many different things. I bought like a psoas stretching thing. Like I bought all these things because I was like, I need to figure out this problem because I can't live like this.
mhm,
So I'm giving you a story to show you an example, but like I eventually figured out what it was, and it was like my back was taking this huge load because the psoas, which are like the muscles that anchor your spine or your spine to your hips and through your stomach, were so locked up that my abs weren't taking any of the load and my back was just like taking all of it. I loosened those up and then it like gradually got better. I bought like everything to fix this thing, man. And I bought some drugs in Mexico when I was on my way out. The return on that injury from me probably drinking too much and cramping up and was a lot. So if you're trying to determine whether focusing on pain or pleasure is more beneficial, like I think I just don't see a world where like selling somebody on pleasure is going to beat like trying to eliminate something that's driving you crazy.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I can relate the same thing. Every single time I bought a supplement, it's because I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
I've never bought a supplement where I was like, "Oh, today I feel great. I'm gonna go buy a supplement and eat it." Like, it's
Yeah.
always when I'm not feeling well, or was I like, "Wow, I feel so tired today. Okay, like, why am I tired? Oh, you're low in vitamin D. Okay, let me go buy vitamin D."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I know you've, like, spent so much money on doctors and medical stuff, like, when something's driving you crazy, you want it gone, and it doesn't matter how
Yes.
much it costs, right?
Yes. So I guess a takeaway for anybody who has a product right now, would this be a good prompt? What pain can my product solve? That would be like the first layer.
Yeah, so that's the first layer. I think, like, and, like, I've got this whole map here, but, like, I think where most people get stuck at that point is, like, they think of things in problems, but, like, you have the problem, or you have the jobs to be done, or the job to be done that your product does, and then it solves a particular problem. But, like, once you really get moving, you can, like, lean into, like, symptoms are different than problems, right? Like, symptoms are like, actually, I saw, here's a good one. I saw one from Marsman the other day. It was like, I always joke about my shin hair has been falling off as I get older, and
Shin hairs?
like, the hair on my shin, like, it's like, I always thought it's, like, from deadlifting a lot when I was younger, and, like, I just
Okay.
damaged it, like, my shins. But I look at, like, other older, like, guys in their 40s or whatever, and, like, everybody's losing, like, their calf hair and their shin hair. And so the only reason why this even stuck out to me was because, like, it's just something weird that I've noticed.
I'm
And
not
I was
problem
like,
aware of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, like, but, like, what does that mean? Like, like, I just thought it meant I fucking scraped the skin off my shins too many times, or I, like, wore jeans that rubbed my hair off. But they presented it as a symptom of low testosterone. It's like, so the hook was like, "Are the hair on your shins falling out?" And I was like, "Shit, that's something that I've noticed before, but I don't think I've ever heard another human being talk about." So, like, once you find your problem, you can, like, I'm totally going off the rails here,
No,
but
no, it's great.
you can break that out into, like a million symptoms. So, like, I mean, with
Mm.
my shin hair is falling out, my forearm hair is falling out, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, it's like, it's not the problem itself, it's like what something that you noticed
So
that,
those are hooks, essentially.
yeah, hooks, or, like, they're just, yeah, they're, I mean, every symptom of a problem is a different hook. But anyways, kinda getting a little off track here.
I
Yeah.
guess the key here is to I think this is kind of where like marketing can kind of take a darker turn,
Yes.
which is like again, I've never taken Mars Men or anything like that. That you just mentioned it, so I'm just saying as an example. It's like, well, is it true that it's because of low testosterone? Right? Because I think marketers can really spin the message in a lot of different ways just to get someone to buy it. Maybe like when they take Marsman, they're like, "Wow, I feel great. The hair didn't stop falling out, but like I feel good otherwise. So maybe
Yeah.
this is something that's worth keeping." I don't know.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, that kinda starts coming down to things like unique mechanism and stuff like that, which is something that you see when a category gets more robust, like, when multiple brands start competing in the same space, you see brands, like, start coming up with, like, unique mechanisms. Like, if you go to the Drano aisle in a grocery store, like, it's actually difficult to decide which Drano to buy, because they all have, like, these different, like, Ultra Gel formula with Miracle Grease Busters, and, like, they all have these unique mechanisms that they've made up that each product does differently than another one, like, and the unique mechanism allows you to separate yourself from the other products that are on the table, because you can be like, "We're the only one with, like, the," I don't know, like, yeah, like, the Ultra Grease Buster, the UGB. We have UGB level 3. The other competitor don't, right? And, like, UGB 3 is a trademark thing for us, but consumers don't know. People make up unique problems that only their product can solve, which then, like, that's like, especially when somebody's tried a bunch of things, that when you present a new problem that people don't realize that only their product solves, that creates, "Oh, well, I've tried all these other things. I haven't tried this yet, and it solves this problem through this mechanism. I need to try it." Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm, like, totally going off the rails here. Alright, so you want me to go back to, like, how I start initially, or how I started initially?
Yeah, well, we talk about pain. So
Yeah.
we talk about we were kind of doing a deep dive on pain. So, and we also talk about symptoms. And then you kind of want to bridge the symptoms to the pain, which makes sense. Now, where would someone brainstorm a list of these, I guess, pain? Like, are you calling your customers? Are you reading Reddit posts? Are you reading Facebook groups? Like, how are you educating yourself if yeah, how are you educating yourself on what the consumer is thinking?
Yeah, so, like, I kinda break this whole thing down into, like, 5 processes. There's, like, you're mining, you're mapping, you're interrogating, you're provoking, and you're isolating. So, like, the first step is, like, mining, and that's what we're talking about right now, is, like, how do you determine, who you should speak to, or how you should speak to them? And I think, like, the easiest way for most people is to go on Reddit and figure out, like, where do people who, like, especially if you're solving a problem, like, there's Reddit, like if you're solving a balding problem, for instance, there's like 100 different balding Reddit, what are they called? Not channels, Reddit, subreddits and
Subreddits.
subreddits. So like the first thing, I wouldn't say just go in there and use AI and scrape everything. I think the first thing to do is like to really like just read for like the last, 2, 3 months worth of like trending topics to just
Hmm.
like you need to understand the language and the pain yourself. It's almost like becoming like an actor, or what are those actors called that like really go deep and pretend to be the person? Method acting, right? You need to really understand what the pain point is. And if you've experienced it yourself, that's a plus because you also get a good founder story out of it. But go into Reddit and like you want to find a couple categories. At first, you want to go into the ones that are specific to the pain point, like balding or whatever. But then once you've kind of identified the jobs to be done, what people have tried before, what they thought about them and why they thought they didn't work. Once you kind of dug out all that information and fully understand it, it's worthwhile. Like, and you figured out kind of like who do we want to go after, to go into like another subreddit where like the person might hang out that's not specifically tied to balding, and try to look for balding content in that category, because it's gonna be a little bit more. I mean, it's gonna be harder to find that material, but you'll be able to get better. Like if you can find multiple people in a particular category, like Asian dating for men, or I don't even know, I'm just making stuff up, right? And where they're talking about, oh, do you think people are swiping less on me on Bumble because my hairline's receding, or whatever, right? You can find a little bit more persona related stuff. So
So the bottom of the funnel is almost like that subreddit group where they talk about the solution to cure baldness, but then you want to find a couple layers above that almost.
yeah, if you can, and you won't always find it, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, like you can do it manually first. If you want to get really, really deep into it, and have AI help analyze it for you, you can use a tool like Apify, and you can scrape some of the subreddits for that particular information. But that's kind of the first step, is like we want to figure out all the pain points. We want to get some rough ideas on avatars. I like to use this 4D persona. I think it was started by Todd Brown or somebody like that. I can't remember where it came from, but it's like there's like 50 different elements that you can kind of fill out. One of the things that I did in the beginning was like really trying to figure out like how people are hurting. And then the second thing that I think's super important before you jump into anything is like mapping out like where are the products that are currently playing, and like what quadrant do they kind of fall into, like, right, like there's discount, there's like premium, and like where is the white space amongst all of the competition. Because the white space the white space is either white space because people aren't playing there because it sucks, or there's white space there because people just haven't entered that part of the market yet. So you have two choices really. You either enter the white space or you enter a more mature market. And if you enter a more mature market, you need the stuff that I was talking about earlier about unique mechanism and unique solution, or unique problem solution. Those things become more important, because, and also what other people have tried and why it didn't work, those all become more important when you're trying to compete in like a more mature market.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the second step. So that's like the mapping stage, right?
And how would you identify the white space? I mean, I'm thinking of this as like a quadrant, right? So
Yeah.
you got the y-axis and the x-axis, and you plot everything out, and are you literally looking for a space that is like empty? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
no one is like competing in like
Yeah,
what?
like, I
How
mean,
are you
that's that
identifying
y
that?
yeah, you just basically you plot everybody, you come up with a couple different axes, and you just literally look, like, which one of these spots has the least amount of competition. That's pretty much as simple as it is. To me, like, if there are a couple of people playing in one space, or there's, like, 1 or 2 people playing in one space, or, even if there's a half dozen, there's two things that you see there. Where you see, one, that the market's been validated. So if other people aren't using more mature marketing tactics, like unique mechanism is incredibly important in supplements either way. But you know that you can probably jump into that space and participate either way, because there is already demand. So one easy way to get started, and I mean you're a big Amazon guy, is if you can find people that are already playing in direct to consumer but haven't really entered Amazon yet, that you could probably jump right into Amazon and start making money right away, because the category already exists, And that's an untapped market, right? You also could, if there's a bunch of people playing in one space, you could also just jump into Google Ads and try to capture what's already there. But that's not as fun. You're not, you're just you're just eating the pie that already exists. You want to, in my opinion, you also want to grow the pie.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, so first step is mining, second step is mapping. Then
Yeah.
what's the third step?
So this has changed from what I used to do, where I used to just kind of like come up with a landing page and test it. Now my next step's like interrogating. So we're essentially going to use quiz funnels to tell us exactly which hypothesis or which pain points, which pieces of information that we've gathered are actually correct. And the nice thing about using a quiz funnel, like I said, I haven't said it in this podcast yet, but I built out a tool. I'm not actively promoting it. It's called Superpop. And I basically built it for my own use. And then I'm like, well, I might as well open it up to other people. There's other quiz funnel tools out there, but I wanted to be able to determine what the revenue per response was based on every question, so that I can start making better ads that cater to the right audiences that produce the most money per visitor. So
Mhm.
basically, I have a pretty standardized quiz template that I use. A long time ago, I worked with Ryan Levesque, who created the Ask method, and I was a case study for him, one of their launches like about 10 years ago. But I've got a format that works pretty well. You basically you open with a big payoff, not with a product, and you're framing what you're doing as like as a diagnostic, not a pitch. So basically, like trying to think of an example for a product, but like let's say you can't sleep at night, be like, let's take this 2-minute quiz and let's get to the root cause of why you're struggling with insomnia or you're struggling to fall asleep every night. And then so that's you're basically telling people that, hey, you're going to answer a couple questions. You're setting the time frame on how long it's going to take. You are going to have a lot less people go all the way through the quiz than you would a landing page. But if they complete the quiz, your conversion rate is astronomically higher than if they were to just come to the page, because you've essentially primed the pump. You've made them think about what their current pain point is. You can change the messaging to match what they've told you already. It's kind of like a sales call where you ask people a bunch of questions and then you just basically parrot back to them what they've said. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying to do this in any sort of unethical way, but this is kind of the first stage. So once you get the hook, I start with like an easy segmenter. So things like, what's your current age, or what sex do you self-identify as, or something simple. Ryan Levesque calls it like a softball question. I then jump into like problem identification. So like basically, what are the different pain points? They can like choose one or multiple of the different pain points that we've identified through our research. If they leave on that page, they don't have any of those pain points. You were wrong, or they don't care enough. Every single question that they ask pushes them further down sunk cost fallacy, which is a logical fallacy where like you you don't want to stop because you've already committed this much time to it, right? We then go into like problem agitation, which is like asking them like how intense their problem is, how much it like affects their life. So like
Now you're tying to something emotional.
yeah,
Like
like
you can't play
um
with your kids the next day because you can't pick up your daughter because your back hurts.
yeah, it's like standard copywriting stuff, right?
Mhm.
And then I like to do like a like urgency via like a timeline. So how long ago how long has this been bugging you? When did you first notice these symptoms? Sorry, I actually wrote these down because there's no way I was gonna be able to memorize these or remember every single one of these. The next one's like the aspiration flip. So this is where we like mirrored the pain question and we pointed at like what's the heaven island state. So we shift the register from pain to desire before we ever like show them a solution. So we want them to start thinking about what their life would be like after the change. So like the next step is usually like a bridge. So this is where you kind of have some sort of like loading thing where it's evaluating their scores, and we're going to name the unique mechanism that they need to solve their problem. We're still not offering them the solution, but we talk about like this unique mechanism and why it could fix their thing. And then we're going to jump over into mechanism and cause building. So we're going to ask them some more questions about like their sleep history, their family history, do they eat a lot of processed foods, just kind of like asking more questions that feel like they're linked to the problem. And then we analyze their results and we give them some sort of like personalized output. So in this stage, we reflect all the answers back to them. We give them some sort of timeline that they can expect the results that
Mhm.
they want. Again, we're still not giving them the solution. We're presenting them a diagnosis because this is really important. You want, like, people take quizzes to find out information about themselves, right? And a lot of people will put an email capture before this point. And I think, it's up to you to test whether or not you want to put one there or not. But I feel like you do lose some people to an email capture. So I'm a big fan of just like ungated. We give them the answers ungated because we're more concerned about making a sale right now than potentially losing somebody that like to an email. After that, we present them with the solution, which is our product and a special offer. So like at this point, they've gone through all this time. They've they've given you time. They've given you their responses. You want to make sure, like, you've taken this person from possibly like problem aware to product aware or basically most aware. This is your opportunity. Like, you've taken them through the entire threshold of Eugene Schwartz's 5 levels of consumer awareness. You want to make them an offer, an irresistible offer, while they're in this state of believing that this is the solution to their problem so that they take action. So we offer them some kind of discount and then we redirect them to the product page where they can choose which version of the product they want to buy. And
Mhm.
like that's basically the interrogation state. Ideally, you start making sales at the end of it, but that's how you start to figure out like it takes a little bit of data afterwards, but you can go back and review like which segments generate more money, like which age group, what problem, and then that's kind of like so that I don't know if you want to ask me any questions about that, but that would lead into the next state.
Yeah, what next day? I mean, everything you just gave a masterclass on quiz funnels, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think there
Sweet.
was a lot of gold in there.
Yeah. So from there, we go into the provoke state, which is reviewing all of this data. We've got the quiz set up. We haven't sent any traffic yet. So now we're like, okay, well, we have some general hypotheses in our head around who we think is going to buy, the pain points, all these things. So we're going to go and we're going to create some static ads that are geared towards who we think the general audience is, and maybe we'll reach out to a couple creators and get them to make some trending type UGC videos around trending styles or whatever to push people to
Sorry,
the
can I back up for a second?
yeah.
You're creating static ads and UGC ads, whatever, based on the responses that you've been getting from the quiz funnels? Is
So
that what you just said?
So initially, like, well, we won't have any data. We'll have made this whole
Yeah.
quiz
Yeah,
funnel.
yeah.
We made this
Yeah.
whole quiz funnel. We didn't have a whole shitload of data.
So you're kinda just like praying and spraying, just like create a bunch of different static ads, different messaging.
Yeah, make a bunch of ads in like the provoke stage here. Basically, yeah, hoping that are generic enough that you get people in either way. And then the next state after that is isolating, which is like when we're going to start looking at like we can go through the data afterwards and see like, okay, which segments are the most valuable because like if you're selling this balding product, we're targeting everybody from like 18 to 60. We might find that people between like 28 and 35
Mm,
are the most valuable because
mm.
those people are like, oh, I'm still trying to find
They're
like
dating.
a
Yeah,
partner,
they're
right? They're
mating.
dating. Yeah, they're
Yeah, yeah.
mating and dating, right? Which we all know is huge. So like again, this is just me making something up, but like you might have thought when you made your product originally after looking at Reddit or whatever that people over 40 have this problem or and whatnot, but you might not have considered that people who are already hitched or have kids or whatever, they care about the fact that they're balding, but it might not be as intense as somebody who's in that dating phase and they convert like twice as high. I don't know. You never know, right? So we then create those ads, we throw them out, we see, we're going to spend money here. No secret. You're probably going to probably lose money at first unless you just hit a grand slam, but you're going to isolate which segments of this persona are the winners, and then you're going to move towards create more creative, find creators that fall into that category and create trending content. And I'm just saying using trending content because it's just the easiest way to move in the beginning. And then at that point, once you're done that, you either decide like to keep doing this, keep pushing, or kill the offer. And I think after you have a bunch of data, you do have the option to move away from the quiz if you want to build like a landing page that's dedicated to that particular persona. Sometimes it works better, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, you got to test it. But usually you get to the bottom here and you're like, once you've got all this information, if you're not able to get the profit or the ROAS that you want, you have to look at like your offer economics. So like, and I've seen this a billion times before. Like we were looking at trying to roll up or do like a private equity type setup where we are buying going to buy e-commerce brands. This is like about 2 years ago, and it's unbelievable how many people come up with fantastic products, and then they're like, I can't scale this, and they only really give people the option to buy like one, or like there's no upsells. So like this is where I think a lot of people do fail. It's the offer economics and how do we position like multiples, or like how do we position like our upsell sequence to maximize profits. And aside from doing like the typical supplement thing, which is like the 1, 3, 6 or year options with incentives to take the larger bundles, which work great by the way. Another big thing that I see people do where they make a lot of mistakes is like their upsells. So they people will typically buy double what they originally spent on the first product on an upsell. So if somebody buys like a 1 month subscription or 1 month supply, if you want to get the best results, ideally I would say you offer the 1 month supply guy another month.
Mm.
If somebody buys 3 months, you can upsell them 3 months. If somebody buys a year, you can upsell them another year. And
Sorry, it's not a
uh,
dollar amount that you're talking about. It's more
yeah, like
duration.
so, like if you're buying like a consumable, right? The easiest thing to upsell to somebody who bought a consumable, or really anything, is multiple of the same thing, because you
Mm.
already spent the time and energy convincing the person that they need this thing.
Right, right,
So,
right. You don't
like
need to
trying to
educate
convince
them
them that
on.
they need
Don't sell them
something else.
another thing because then you have
Yeah,
to then they have objections about the other thing, which
yeah.
cannot be answered on the upsell page.
Yeah, like, unless it's, like,
Mm.
very clear that this is the next thing that you're gonna need, or, like, generally speaking, the easiest thing to sell is more of what they've already bought. But it's, like, and I've tested this quite extensively. You can maximize your upsells by matching, like, if you have 3 options, 1, 3, and 6, offer the 6 person 6 more, offer the 3 person 3 more, offer the 1 person 1 more, because if you offer the person who bought 1 what you're offering them, the top buyer, very few people will take that upsell. But if you offer them another single, the revenue per session winds up actually being considerably higher, because way more people will take that offer because it's aligned with what they've already bought.
Have you tested the price point of the site? Does it have to be 50% off? Does it have to be because, or are you just literally selling them like, hey, you bought 3 months for $100. Here's another 3 months for another $100. Or does it have to be like $50 for 3 months for the upsell?
I mean, I think it really varies by market, but like you obviously want to offer them an irresistible offer that they can't get anywhere else, and make sure that they're aware that this price point on these additional units
Right.
is only because you're currently purchasing, and we want to start this relationship out on a good foot. And we want to like you can often position it like if it's a supplement that like, you know, this isn't meant to be for to double your period, the period that you're using the product. You can like certain products, you can say like, hey, for best results, we find that if you take a double dose during the first 3 months, you're going to see considerably quicker results than if you were to just
Right.
take the regular dose. The regular dose will get you the result,
Right.
but if
Right.
you
Right.
take, here's a double supply, so you can take double for the first 3 months, and then you're going to experience the results
2x
better. So
result faster or
yeah,
something.
you compress the time frame a bit via the offer.
Right. Right. And obviously making sure the unit economics makes sense for the upsell. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Cool. Okay. So that's okay. So that makes sense. And then are we at the last stage now or
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, you decide again, like with Tru Earth, we're like, if we don't get 100 units in the first month, we're gonna put a bullet in the business and move on to something, work with everything that we've got going. And we want up hitting like 1,500 units in the first month or something like that. So really it's like decide whether you keep or you kill. And like by this point, like, you've gone through, you should have quite a bit of data. I mean, it depends how much you spent, right? Like when we were testing this product, we started out at like $200 a day, and we were getting like we were getting like $700 CPA. It was like so bad. And then to be honest, like when I was building out the quiz stuff for this brand. I just tested like a regular landing page in the meantime, and like it was horrific. So I got for me, I was like, how do I capture data? And I didn't have the quiz tool built yet. So I
Mhm.
started with like I did start with a regular landing page, and I think I missed the mark on the messaging. I think I missed the mark on like a number of different things. But
Okay, so the last thing you said was we started off at $700 CAC, and then we brought it down to 350.
gotcha, yeah. So we were talking about the CPAs. Yeah, so when we first started, we actually were just sending directly to a landing page while I was finished building out the quiz tools and whatever. And we were getting like, $750 CPA. We had started out spending $200 a day. Just, at the beginning, you have to figure out like what's your baselines. That obviously was not sustainable. So I finished building out the quiz tool, and we brought it down to like at first it started cutting down like 300, and then now we're, just over $100 CPA, which like from 700 and something is like tremendous difference. And obviously you can't build a business unless on a $700 CPA unless you have some crazy AOV.
Yeah. So you're a big fan of quiz funnels.
Yeah, I'm a fan of quiz funnels.
Is this your first
Um,
time running quiz funnels? Like this deeply, or have you?
No, so I've done it before, like 2016, I went through Ryan Lebeck's Ask Masterclass. I paid for it, and then I like participated in the contest with him. A few of us wound up winning the kind of like the execution challenge, and I think I did got something like 10,000 leads for Explore magazine. We did a slightly different model. It was based on like what's your outdoor adventure persona. It was actually super cool, but yeah, that was like kind of my first experience. It was a little bit different. It was more like a lead funnel where we tried to sell people on the back end. But yeah, this was kind of like my first real crack at like, okay, let's take everything that I learned 10 years ago, and, I don't just wanna, like, guess on my data, I wanna actually know, like, I want hard data on what's actually working, and I don't think that there's a better way to get it than through, literally asking people what they're going through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. It's great. Cool, guys. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is super, super valuable. And yeah, thank you all again. If anybody have any questions, comments, feel free to drop them down below. If you're enjoying this series, make sure you comment something so that we know and give us the energy to keep doing this. So thank you all, and Ryan, have fun in Japan. We'll talk to you when you're back.
Sounds good, man. Take care.